Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a new edition of the Face2Face here on EKN's YouTube channel. My name's Rob Howden. David Cole beside me back home in Michigan. David, it's Tuesday, June the 1st, and a new month. Indianapolis 500 going in the books. A bunch of ex-kart racers in the field, of course. But yeah, a new month kind of rolling into the summer right now. Lots and lots of racing going on.
Yeah, it feels like a Monday, but it's a Tuesday, obviously coming off the holiday weekend. Got a lot done, and we got to watch a lot of racing over the weekend, both here, in the U.S. with Indy 500 and the 600 in Charlotte, along with the European Championships going on in France this past weekend, where we saw about 6 North American drivers compete there. Nice. So a lot of racing going on, and we got a lot of racing in the upcoming weeks, especially in this month of June.
Just to throw this out here, it was interesting. Well, obviously, Elio Castroneves winning the Indy 500. I got to go back and grab that photo and post it out here pretty soon. I think it was the very first ever Superkarts USA Winter Tour, and he actually came down and raced. He raced with Ricer Racing on a Burrell, and I want to say it was at right by Miami High Line, the little parking lot deal that we did back then. It was a wild deal, but yeah, he ran then. But legendary race car driver for sure. Good to see him get that 4th win. And Dave, you're a longtime Indy 500 driver or fan and a viewer. Did you ever think we'd see another 4-timer?
Well, with him, it was 2009 was his 3rd one. So you were thinking, okay, it's got to happen sometime. And to go, I think, what is it? They said 12 years between victories like that. That's one of the longest periods. Yeah, crazy. So, and you thought, okay, he was going to do it with Penske. And then when he left Penske, it was like, okay, we're not going to have that. We're done. It. But that's really, I think, the kind of the next big story is the story of Michael Shank and his race team coming in and doing the Indy 500 and actually winning it now, finally, after just a few years of being an owner. It's just huge for his program. And so now, going from that sports car base to, I saw on Twitter, he was Atlantic. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he raced Atlantic.
He started doing back in Atlantic. So that's just, I mean, there's no greater story than those type of stories with the Indianapolis 500.
I agree. Let's focus on what we're talking about here today. Again, I said lots and lots of racing going on. And if you're a West Coaster and if you're part of the ROK group, if you're a rocker in the West Coast, you run the Challenge of the Americas in the winter. And then, of course, there's the California ROK Championship that Andy Seesemann launched a couple of years ago. Let's bring Andy Seesemann joining us here right now from FTK Promotions. Bring him in here. Andy in SoCal. How are you, my friend?
Good. How are you guys today?
Really good. It's the most Mondayest Tuesday we've had in a while. It was a slow morning. Let's put it that way. Getting going.
Oh, for sure. It's the typical. Eric just walked in and he's like, after his 3 days off, he says, "Yeah, I'm tired." I'm like, "You're tired? You had 3 days off."
There's a lot of food eating, though. It's not just
food.
It's not just
Eric and food. Yeah,
100%. All right, so let's just get started first and foremost. As I said for the intro, those of you joining us, Andy Seesemann with FTK Promotions, promoter of the Challenge of the Americas and the California ROK Championship. Before we jump into to talk a little bit about how that season's progressing, we'll look at the schedule, upcoming races for the CRC. How did it start, Andy? Because I know obviously you had the Challenge of the Americas. That's been a dozen years you've had that program. Moved to the ROK Championship, the ROK Engine platform a couple of years ago. What was the birth of the CRC? Was it just talking to team owners looking for more racing for ROK guys, or what?
Yeah, I mean that's always been the complaint or the concern about the West Coast stuff. Even going back to the Rotax days, right? We really didn't do a lot of for a long time. I ran the Gators program during the summer.
Yep.
And then when my focus turned to the Challenge of the Americas. Kind of the normal regular Rotax racer kind of went to LAKC or other places during the summer. So we had no, higher level, if you want to call it regional, whatever, championship during the summer. We kind of lost out on that. And then when we first started with ROK, it was the same thing, right? We had the challenge, which is a big deal, and then kind of went away for the summer. And then ROK owners would come back and have, ROK the Rio.
Yeah.
What we're talking about 2 years ago now, we decided, okay, let's put the CRC together to put a few summer races on. And obviously the first year we struggled, we only had 20, some odd people at the first couple races. And then the finale, I think we got to 70. And then last year with the craziness, we had to cancel events, obviously, like we were doing all over the country.
Yeah.
And then so what we did was we did a few combined events with Sonoma. We said, well, they have a great program up there. And if we're going to travel, let's be honest, there's no better place to travel to Sonoma. I mean, we could be at, Willow Springs, or we could be at Sonoma. So we put a couple races on with them, and we opened, if you recall, with Phoenix right after we reopened from the pandemic, and everybody was so pent up. We had, I don't know, 110 entries or something. It was great.
Yeah. And
then we averaged about 100 again with each of the Sonomas, and then came back to Cal Speed at the end of the year and had 80 or 90. So it was a nice, good, 100 average program. So we're doing it again. Obviously, we can talk about the schedule a little bit later for this year.
Yeah, let's start talking about 2021. Your opening round, first week of May, I believe, was the opening round. How did things go to get the season started?
Yeah, that was a tough one. So that one kind of got sandwiched in, right? So a lot of the bigger teams are now doing not only SCUSA and Rock Fest, and now they've added USPKS.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great program, right? So a lot of these teams are just crisscrossing across the country, and I sandwiched it in on Mother's Day weekend, and then that was a mistake on my part, and I think we had entries in the 40s, and so it was a bit of a struggle. So then when we looked at it, we said obviously we have our 2 combined with Sonoma, the big race at Pat's we're going to talk about here in a bit, but then we were going to end again in September in Buttonwillow, and then in the meantime, Rock dropped a Rock Fest West at Sonoma, which then shifted Sonoma's calendar back a little bit. Well, then I figured there's no way that rockers are going to go Sonoma, Rock Sonoma, and then go Rock Fest, and then go down to Buttonwillow 3 weekends in a row. There's no way that's going to happen, and people will just be done. So we moved that Buttonwillow date up to combine with Sonoma in September, and then basically pulled out of the August combined date. So we basically took 1 weekend out. It's still a best of 5 championship over 4 weekends. So folks that actually missed May are still, that's their drop.
Yeah,
they can still do the 2 Sonomas and then our Pats race, and then they're in the championship still. So
and the nice thing, you talked about the teams, David. You and I mentioned this in one of our last podcasts. We're kind of away from national racing for a little 6 week run, right? Mm-hmm. We got a bit of a gap right now, so those teams that would have been going back and forth aren't doing that now. They're able to kind of stay where they are, which is great. What's your next race? It's like a week and a half away, right? We pause our face-to-face broadcast for this quick commercial break. Stay tuned for more here on the EKN Radio Network. Are you ready to step up your game? If so, joining the Rawlson Performance Group is the obvious choice to take your racing to the next level. Industry-leading driver development is provided by our staff of multi-time national champions, Super Nationals winners, and Team USA members. And at the same time, RPG continues to be a national-level powerhouse race team. Our goal is to help you raise your game and win races. We work with all age groups, and we're focused on developing cadet and junior drivers who are ready to take the next step in their racing program. Rawlson Performance Group has set a new standard with our in-house engine program, AVP Engines, headed by Alex Vincent. AVP has become the benchmark in both IAME and ROK competition. We also have the largest OTK inventory that follows our race team, providing trackside parts at all the major events in North America. RPG also offers multilingual support with French, Spanish, and Portuguese-speaking staff. If you want to fight for championships or want to improve your skills and your chances to win, the answer is to call RPG at 503-260-4514. The Rawlson Performance Group. We race to win. Cometic Gasket is a leading worldwide supplier of gaskets and engine sealing solutions for karting, automotive performance, power sports, original equipment, and the remanufactured engine industries. Cometic karting gaskets are available as OE replacement top-end kits or as individual gaskets and seals. Just like competitive karters, Cometic can operate on the fly and has the unique capability to customize any gasket to meet specific engine requirements and clearances. All of Cometic's fiber materials are asbestos-free and do not require any additional sealants. Viton oil ring cylinder head seals are used in each 2-cycle kit, and Cometic's 4-cycle engine kits feature only the most advanced multi-layer steel head gaskets. Cometic can tailor to engine builder specific needs through bulk ordering and packaging flexibility. Cometic gaskets are must-haves for championship winning teams across multiple disciplines of both professional and amateur motorsports. Cometic gasket, sealing championships since 1989. Welcome back to Face2Face on the EKN Radio Network.
Yeah, we'll leave in 10 days. We're going up to Sonoma. That's our first combined round with ROK Sonoma. So, I mean, obviously, they have their 70-ish, 80-ish kart program up there. We bring another, 40 or 50, whatever. It could break 100 again. Nice. You just don't know. Once again, you get to that time where we have graduations and Father's Day. So it's always a crapshoot, right? Which we know why there's always it's a double-edged sword. We put races in this time of year because there's a break. Well, there's a break for a reason, but what else are you going to do, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the 12th and 13th up at ROK Sonoma. That'll be our next event combined.
And so, yeah, you're looking probably over 100 then, probably maybe 100, 110 kind of a thing?
That's the goal, and then it's awesome. Definitely doable, with the teams that are there and a few teams down here and another, Rollison Performance Group is actually coming down the Pacific Northwest. They couldn't support our first one, but Raleigh's going to support the next 3 events, the remainder of the season. So, especially at Pat's, obviously his home base. So we should have a very, very good turnout for the next 3.
It just feels like to me you got good momentum right now. You're just slowly building that momentum. Right? It's not a massive shoot up. It's just a nice little level of more people coming in. Just that when we talked about the numbers, right? 70, 80, then you hit the 100 mark, and then like the Challenge of the Americas now hitting that 150 mark. Right. It's going to bump up to 160, 170. It just feels like the CRC's got good momentum right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's growing a little slower than I'd like, but like I'm greedy, like we all are, right? Yeah, of course, right. So, but yeah, I mean, anytime the curve is angling up instead of down, it's a good thing. So overall, we're still moving up, so that's great.
Let's talk about Pat's Acres. That was a really cool. Oh, Dave, you go.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to, because you're going to ROK Sonoma twice. They have a local following. I think that's one thing that you're still kind of working at in Southern California, is having that one program that is kind of seeing the ROK program and kind of grasping it with both hands and moving forward with it. Is that still kind of the struggle that you have in Southern California?
Yeah, I mean, right now, obviously the 2 main engine platforms are, ROK and Yami, and Yami is stronger here right now. And, the tide of karting always ebbs and flows, right? You never know what's going to happen next year. It might not be the same as last year. It might not be the same as 3 years from now. But yeah, we're still working on trying to develop, stronger partners for our program. The last thing Southern California needs is me to, try to drop an 8-race club championship somewhere. One, there's no dates. Two, unfortunately, the track that everybody wants to go to is Cal Speed, right? So there's not enough dates in the year. Yeah. And the community just it can't handle it. It just can't handle that many club races at the same facility.
Because it's kind of working. ROK is working with Tri-C a little bit here, so there is a place for racers to go. It's just it's still in the growing stages, I want to say, with the ROK categories, correct?
Yeah, and that's exactly right. We're still plugging away and working hard to build our community here.
Yeah,
I got to think though too that as the challenge continues to grow, that's what's going to kind of feed the CRC, right? The California ROK Championship. Like you're starting to get some critical mass now at the Challenge of the Americas, where you could see that explosion. You had some really good numbers last year, and I have a feeling 2022 is going to be again record-setting year for you.
Yeah, it should. I mean, that's every year. I mean, like we talked about, right? The very first year, I think we had 70, and in 3 years we've doubled, right? So we always talk about 10% growth. Talk about really 30% growth each year, right? Bam, bam, bam.
I wait for Canada to open up.
Yeah, I mean, if your country actually opens its gates there, like we have on our southern border, just open them, And hopefully, we pick up another 20, 25 Canadian entries. Heck, we could see 170, 180 in a very big hurry at our opener next year.
Big time. All right, I mentioned this before. Dave obviously wanted to ask that question, but let's talk about Pat's Acres. Kind of an interesting thing for you guys to stretch out. It is the California ROK Championship, and then you had to race up for the Pacific Northwest, which is badass because one of my favorite racetracks, man. I love going there, love the Egger family. But what was the first off, let's talk about the motivation. What was the reasoning of wanting to go up to Pat's?
It's funny. So we put out a survey at the end of last year. I just wanted to talk to our customers and see what the pulse of the customer base was. And their most favorite out-of-state track that I said, I listed them: in-state tracks, out-of-state tracks, challenge tracks, non-challenge tracks. Everybody knows there's four challenge tracks we go to, Tucson, Phoenix, Cal Speed, or Sonoma, right? So then I took all the other ones and put them in a pile and said, what about Reno? What about Pat's? What about Grand Junction? Just trying to ask people's opinions. And Pat's Acres, by and large, was their number one track that people wanted to go to on my survey. It was surprising because while we have a few folks or a good little contingent from the Pacific Northwest, it's not like we have 50 Pacific Northwest drivers, right?
Yeah.
So it was Californians that had said, "Hey, I've heard great things about this place. I want to go there." So it was number one on our list. So I took a shot. I took a shot. Mike Rollison said he was going to support our program, this year, and like, heck, what better way to try to kick it off? We have a strong team that's based out there. You have a track people want to go to. It's one of the most beautiful tracks in the country. As you guys, have you ever been to there in DC or just Rob?
Only seen pictures.
Oh man. So I mean, you go up there and it's surrounded by a river on three sides. It's in the middle of a forest. I mean, there's trees everywhere. You can camp throughout the whole paddock. I mean, it's just compared to what we deal with, obviously Tucson, Phoenix, the deserts that we have here, or the asphalt at Cal Speed. It's just so very different. And
it's so different.
Yeah, I know, right? You're on a slab of asphalt, or you can camp in the field and the trees. I mean, it's going to be light out. Yeah, I know, but we don't have that out here, right?
It's like racing in the Midwest,
Right. It's like going to your places. But
Badger, you can go to Badger. Yeah,
Badger. It's the name. I kept thinking Beaver. I couldn't think of Badger.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, that could be one, but I'm just thinking of tracks that have trees like that. East Lansing is another example.
MRP, same thing with MRP.
MRP is exactly that. So
right. All right, so you're heading to Pat's Acres. Obviously, I think the race is July 23rd to the 25th. When does registration open for that? What kind of turnout are you thinking about for that race?
Once again, who knows, right? But if things go right, I mean, obviously we're going to probably lose some folks from down here that'll be like, oh my God, it's so far. But in the end, it's a one-day pull, right? It's a one-day pull no matter what, right? So yeah, some one days are 8-hour one days, some one days are 15-hour one days. I get that, but you can still get to Pat's leaving at 6 a.m. and be there by dark, from Southern California. So I mean, with talking RPG, Raleigh said he might have 20-25 guys up there. So all of a sudden we lose a few from down here, we pick up a bunch from up there. We could still be at our nice 100 mark. I mean, if we hit 100 up there, that's my goal. That's a victory, right? I don't think we're going to hit 150. While that would be unbelievable, and I certainly don't expect to have 60. So I mean, that's the goal.
Nice. We haven't really talked about it all. We pause our face-to-face broadcast for this quick commercial break. Stay tuned for more here on the EKN Radio Network. Winning takes top quality equipment, flawless preparation, experienced coaching, and passion. And at Team GFC, we live our passion. Developed by American karting champion Gary Carlton, the GFC chassis has become one of the newest brands to reach the top of the podium in North America. GFC has garnered victories and championships at all levels of the sport since its debut at the end of 2018. Shifter car drivers are at the front of the field running the GFC GT14 frame, and the SS31 has become a solid contender in tag and 100cc competition. Team GFC has arrive and drive packages available for all categories, including the mini and micro classes, utilizing the GFC RR5 Cadet chassis. These young pilots have the opportunity to be part of the Team GFC Young Driver Development Program. Learn from one of the best American karters with over 25 years of racing at the highest levels of the sport, offering personalized training on and off the track. Follow GFC Karting on Facebook and Instagram, or click over to gfckarting.com to learn more about joining Team GFC in 2021. GFC, live your passion. In Colorado, the place to go for karts and parts and everything else you need to go racing is Forward Direction Motorsports. It's Colorado's premier karting company. Owned and operated by veteran karter Greg Welch, Forward Direction Motorsports is located in Centennial, Colorado. FDM has been developed to provide customer service and product sales at all levels and in both in-person and online. We're a brick and mortar shop that serves as the hub for karting in Colorado, and we're a gateway to new racers who can come in and learn about the sport. We also have an online store and can ship all over the country. We can also service all makes and models of engines and karts. Whatever you race, we can take care of you. Forward Direction Motorsports is a comp kart dealer, an authorized Rotax service center, and we can fully support all Briggs 206 racers. We support local karting 100%, and we also have a race team that takes our customers to major regional and national events on the West Coast. From kart prep and coaching to full arrive and drive packages, we offer something for everyone. You don't have to live in Colorado to experience Full Direction Motorsports' vast experience or dedication to customer service. Our online store continues to expand its inventory, and the products you need are just a mouse click away. Head to fdmkarting.com the next time you need parts and equipment fast. We ship daily. Shop online or come to the store to check out our inventory and visit our service department. Head to fdmkarting.com to learn more about our products and services, or call us direct at 720-323-3650. Welcome back to Face2Face on the EKN Radio Network. We got you back. Let's talk about the program itself, the CRC. You know, you have a really good prize package for the Challenge of the Americas every year. You know, all the tickets, the ROK final tickets. What do you got set up for the CRC? I think there's like ROK Vegas kind of packages. Is that the focus of that program?
Yeah, basically the CRC is designed to feed ROK Vegas. That's where all the tickets are. In fact, there's in the 10 classes and 3 podium slots, there are 30 tickets of varying degrees, right? So all the champions win a full ride, the full entry, tires, fuel, yada, yada, right? So they win the full $1,000-ish ticket, right? So there's 10 grand. The second prize is you win the free entry, but you have to buy your tires and fuel. Yep. And then third prize is you get a couple sets of tires that you can use towards your entry. So in the end, if you take second and third, they average to what a full package is, and then the winner gets a full package. So minimum is still a $500 prize, right?
So hey, listen, how about you give us some insight into ROK Vegas? We don't know a lot about it yet. What can you tell us? Where's the parking lot? How big is it? What's the track going to look like?
I'm not involved in that planning, obviously. You've seen the pictures of the suite where it kind of looks down on. People kind of know what hotel it is, right? Mm-hmm. I believe they've said
they've said Paris and Planet Hollywood.
Planet Paris and Planet Hollywood. So if you look at the overhead map, there's a very big, nice couple of lots right behind that facility that are actually bigger. That's going to require a little bit of infrastructure, like it all does, right? I mean, while the Rio was fenced nice and had the nice egress and ingress and all the ramps and everything, I think Garrett's gonna have to build some ramps, but the whole Planet Hollywood property is all fenced around as well. So you're gonna give up one on some side and pick it up on the other side. It'll be bitching to have a couple great hotels there. And just like when SCUSA was over on the other side of town, there's a tram stop literally right there at the track. So if folks don't stay at those hotels and they want to stay somewhere else, they can hop on the tram right there, come down the stairs, and they're at the facility, right? So all those things are going to add up to what's going to be I think a pretty cool event.
We didn't. I didn't when I was wrapping up the thing with Pat's. When does registration open for that one? Just so people know.
Tomorrow we're gonna open up.
Oh, really?
Open a registration. We're gonna try to push it a little bit, even though we have a race coming up here. Steve and his ROK Sonoma crew handle all the registration for that.
Okay.
So I'd like to get our registration open early for the Pats race. One, fundamentally for promoters, for race organizers, it's just about logistics, right? Once again, now I'm going 1,000 miles away from my home base with fuel and tires and all the things we have to do, right? And plane tickets for my staff. And so I need to have a really good idea about who's going to come early enough so I can put all those plans in place. And by that same token, we're probably going to close entries a little early, probably close it, 10, 12 days early so I can have time to kind of wrap things up. And so we were talking maybe about the 10th of July, 12th of July, it's going to close. So it'll still be open for 6 weeks. But yeah, we're going to open it really quick. We're going to open it tomorrow.
All right. So what have I got? Oh, go ahead. Go, Dave.
And I think I want to emphasize a little bit. You were talking about how it's still best 4 out of 5 championship in the championship run. If people go to Sonoma in the next weekend, they can still be involved in the championship because you have that drop race. So people can essentially use that button wheel weekend as a drop if they haven't already committed to the program. Go to Sonoma. Correct. And then see what happens there and make their way up to Pat's Acres and can still be involved in the championship chase.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they go to Sonoma. If they do well at Sonoma, the one thing that's also different about Pat's is it's a double weekend. It's the challenge format, right? So it's the Friday practice, Saturday race, Sunday race. So once again, I wanted to make it, if it is so far away from this customer base, I wanted to make sure it's a good enough value. They're not going for a one-day event, right? They're going to go and, they can, Chris Egger lets them camp. You want to come? You can camp at the track all week, right? I mean, it's light out till 9:45 in July in Oregon, right? It's like you guys where you're at, so far up north. So, folks can come. They're going to have two race days. Combine that with the Sonoma, and then the Sonoma at the end. There's 4. So if they did miss Buttonwillow, they can still go for those championships.
And that's the clarification we probably didn't make at the start. The California ROK Championship, Andy, the way you do it, it's a single race day, right? As opposed to the double race weekend as you would have. You have the single race day. That's why the double round up at Pat's gives you those 4 races, which is great.
Exactly.
Yeah. So hey, let's wrap this up with one thing. We talked about the Challenge of the Americas at the start. I know the Challenge of the Americas is a long way away for 2022. Last year you
Not
were
really.
True, I know. As a promoter, you don't say that, right? It's closer than you think. Have you locked the dates in? Like, have you looked at the dates you want to lock in yet for next year?
We've looked at dates. I mean, the dates that I've already requested from some tracks are our typical 4th weekend. I mean, that's the only real question is January, because January starts on a Saturday, but I don't really count that as a weekend. So I will probably be technically the 5th weekend of January, but it's actually the 4th week. I mean, you know what I mean? Yep. The 1st and 2nd of January they're erased from the calendar in my brain. So if you look at our typical traditional 4th weekends, I mean, obviously, the Florida stuff is always on the 2nd and 3rd. We're on the 4th. It just eliminates, as long as we all stick to our traditional weekends, it's always a lot easier, right? It's only when people try, kind of decide to go off the rails and throw in races when they've never had races is when it turns sideways.
What about tracks? I know you kind of go back and forth with Phoenix and Tucson, the Calispeed and the Sonoma. Do we know which Arizona track you're going to be at this year?
Not yet. I put some feelers out. I have talked to Charlie a little bit. I have talked to Pete Carey a little bit. So it just depends. I mean, Pete Carey's looking at a lighting project. They're also looking at putting a different sealer on the asphalt. Unfortunately, the biggest complaint ever about Phoenix is the asphalt. How fast it burns through tires. No matter what the tire is, it just goes through tires, right? They have talked about addressing that, and I've seen some photos on their website where they're putting some sealer down and seeing how that works.
Yeah, I saw that this weekend too. Yeah. But
on the other side, Charlie up at Tucson has talked about he may have an investor that he can fully pave the paddock, and so they're spending some money there too. So obviously there's our 4 tracks that we can go to, right? I have it just depends where we open more than anything else.
Sure enough. All right.
But I have asked for a Calispeed date, and I have asked for a Sonoma date.
Good stuff. Well, since you wrap up here, Andy, anything else you want to get out here get a chance to talk about here on the Face2Face?
I just it's been a crazy. It's as you know, I moved my shops. My landlord decided he wanted to get double my rent here. That I've been paying. Somehow we survived COVID, and I paid him his rent, and we survived all that, and then everything kind of sort of got back to normal. He said, "Okay, great. You can now spend $2,000 more a month if you want to be here." What? So it's the last thing I wanted to do. So we've changed locations. We were in that location for 12 years. We were in Orange for 18 years. So now we're over in Anaheim, but it's business as usual. I mean, we're shipping tires and engines and parts every day, and planning races, and doing what we do. So life is no different. It's just in a different area code or zip code.
There it is. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you coming on here, and again, congratulations on all the success, the growth again with the Challenge of the Americas. Like you said, you pressed the reset button. Going to the ROK program, 70 carts and 70 entries that first year. Boom, we're at like 140, 150 now. So amazing growth there. And again, the steady growth of the California ROK Championship. I think for anybody who's a ROK racer in California, to be able to have the options, let's say you're not a Sonoma guy, right? You're in Southern California, you love the challenge. You got to have the CRC for them to be able to go racing throughout the year. That's great, right? That's the program.
Yeah, and I'm just, like I said, we're really, really excited about Pats. There's the chatter about it is big from a lot of people. From a lot of people that know how magical Pats is. It's the people that don't know that I'm trying to convince that, hey, you need to go to some of these places, right? We need to break away from Sonoma and Cal Speed and get up to some of these places and see some of these historic tracks that are amazing.
Hey, it's a bucket list racetrack in karting.
It really is. It really is. It still today owns the record for the largest number of entries at any IKF Grand National in history. Wow. It's still hosted, first several years of the Pro Tour, right? Yeah. Mike Rollison ran his Can-Am Championship up there for a few years, right? Yeah. And it just for the past 5 years, it's been pretty quiet as far as in the public eye. I mean, obviously they still have a club race or two or whatever, but as far as big events, it's been pretty quiet up there, and it's time to get it back.
David, anything else to wrap?
No, I think that's it. Yeah, it is on the list of tracks that I have not been to that I'd like to go. But yeah, certainly for anybody on the Western half.
I invited you. You said you didn't know if your boss would pay you.
I know it's still in negotiations because I have the family side of things to deal with now. So we'll get into that later. But yeah, anybody on the West Coast, Western half of the country, Colorado, Utah, Montana, Idaho, racers up that way, even Arizona drivers who again want to get away from the desert and see some trees and see some rivers. That's the best place to go.
I would love to be able to be there. I'll be back in Canada for 6 weeks straight, so I can't do it, which kind of sucks because I would love to have been up there. It's a lot of fun. But Andy, thank you so much for joining us here, buddy. I appreciate it, and good luck in a couple of weeks here at ROK Sonoma, and then at the end of July up at Pat's.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the time.
There is, folks. Andy Seesemann from the FTK Promotions Group. Obviously, the folks that put on the Challenge of the Americas, a massively growing program once again. David Cole and I will be there for all 3 races, ideally next year. And, of course, this California ROK Championship. David, you got to get the Pat sooner or later, bud. It's that good.
Yeah, the Agers keep bugging me to make a trip out that way, and again, a lot of drivers in the Northwest they use that as their training ground. That's one of the most challenging racetracks you'll ever drive, and it's certainly you're never turning the wheel straight. It's always moving in a certain direction. So
such a great track.
Yeah, it is certainly. Andy put it right. You put it. It's a good bucket list track.
I do remember when I first announced there, it was the very first year, I think, of the Supercars USA Pro Moto Tour in like 1999. And people were telling me, oh, you can't pass at Pat's. Why'd they put it on the schedule? I remember literally saying on the PA, they told me you can't pass at Pat's. That's a bunch of crap. It was awesome. The passing opportunities are great. It's a fantastic track. And it's a great shifter track, too. It's busy. But the ROK shifter guys are going to be on it. It's going to be fun.
Well, good thing the engine's easier to drive, right?
That's it. Those
old guys.
I can't do it. All right, folks, we're done here. Thank you so much for joining us in another edition of the Face2Face. I have another one coming tomorrow. I'm actually going to be chatting with Brittany Lobaugh from the Texas Sprint Racing Series. We'll talk to her about how things are going. More growth there as well. We talked about the growth with Andy's challenge. Dude, Texas Sprint Racing Series is exploding down there right now. Their numbers have been awesome.
Yeah, again, everything's big in Texas, and so is this this karting program. That it's kind of brought a unity to the state, and that's something we'll you'll be able to talk with her about.
We'll do that, folks. Thank you so much for joining us here on the EKN YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, do that right now. Please give us a subscribe, give us a like. Feel free to comment below. We'd love to hear from you. Again, thank you so much. On behalf of David Cole, my name's Rob Howden. Book it.